Hello, it's Richard here. Just before the episode starts, a quick reminder that all the complete show notes for this episode, and every other episode for that matter, are sent out every week for free, and you can get a copy at thepublicrelationspodcast.com/subscribe. Or just go to the website, thepublicrelationspodcast.com, and click the link for the newsletter. When you sign up to that, I also send out two articles from the PR manual instantly. One on how to write a press release that would have got me paying attention when I ran newsrooms, and the other on using artificial intelligence, AI, for public relations, and some of the things to watch out for. I hope you find those useful, and I hope you find this episode useful too. As far as I can see, AI is going to change everything in PR. And I don't just mean for agencies, I mean for startup PR, if you're running your own business, or if you're in a small team, or in any size of organization. Since chatting to that AI expert last week, my friend Mark Van Remersen, who's he's spoken around the world, I think I mentioned last week, on stages about AI, and he's written multiple books. And talking to a lot of people during the past week, it is hard not to be convinced that all of this hype that is going on at the moment around ChatGPT and AI is actually real this time. It is not just one of these fads that is going to go away. Maybe it'll lose some of the prominence, but the tools and technology, you can't help but when you research it to realize that this is actually just the start of things. Now, I've been gathering ideas from people that I've spoken to over the past week and compiled an article which I mentioned during the week on the Bite Size episode about AI. And it's basically just going into some key FAQs, some key points about where Mark thought things were going to go, where other people have thought things are going to go. There's some links to tools that you can try out and things to experiment with, so you can get a sense of what it might mean for what you do from a relationship building point of view with the public. In a moment then, I got part two of the chat with Mark, but if you'd like that article and you're listening in the future and you didn't get the newsletter this week because it's in that, the whole thing, the whole of that article, plus any latest revisions at the time, is on the website. If you go to the website, thepublicrelationspodcast.com, click on the PR manual button at the top, and you will find that in the list in there. And if that article sounds like too much to read in one go, then fear not, because what I'm going to start doing on some of these topics which kind of drag over multiple episodes is to start doing just one little bite-sized tip. So I'm going to do an AI and PR tip in each episode over the coming weeks to cover the whole of that article. So if you keep listening in, you will get a bit of that each time. So in part one of the chat with Mark last week, I talked about what AI is, and also we talked about crisis PR. Part two right now is about whether PR people are going to be able to afford this technology. Who's going to be able to afford it? Who's going to use it best? Whether PR people have a future as a job in public relations, and just the best way to use it at every level. It's interesting because I don't just wonder what impact this is going to have on PR, but it also makes me wonder what impact it would have had on my time as a news editor in national news as well. Right, here's part two of that interview with Mark. Now, let's try and picture sort of media outlets and journalists, because in cash and time short newsrooms now, and I've worked in them, the pressure to get stuff out is so high that are journalists going to start writing their articles just using AI instead of bothering with PRs anymore? I mean, will they even need PR people to send them a press release?
I think it's a possibility, and I think a lot of low-quality PR agencies will use that technology. But I also think that the more expensive, high-quality PR agencies will not use that. And I think that's where we still see a difference. I actually covered it in my book, and not so much PR, but I covered it from a fashion perspective, where in the metaverse. So you can imagine it if you want to go do shopping and you want to buy new clothes, whether it's for your avatar or for you, your physical self, you go to these immersive shops and you're being helped by an agent or a sales agent to help you. Now, in the cheap stores, the Zara's and the H&M's of this world, that person will be an AI, an artificially intelligent, non-playing character, for example. But in the luxury stores, the Balenciagas and the Gucci of this world, it will actually be a real person, which has the help of AI to offer better solutions. So, it's I think we have to be really careful about this kind of stuff. Organizations will use AI, because they can serve more people, and AI will not always be good because really good AI is also really expensive. And then you get off-the-shelf AI, and off-the-shelf AI is reasonable, okay, but and then as a customer, you're stuck with a reasonable AI that can't help you in the edge cases and leave you utterly frustrated and probably going to a different company. Probably use the same AI.
Actually, if you want to be a good PR agency, you either are so big that you can afford a really good AI, or you've just got to give high quality human content to stand out above the AI noise.
Yeah, supported probably with AI, because there's nothing wrong with humans augmenting themselves with AI.
Yeah.
And as you said, humans augmented with AI will beat normal AI, and AI will beat humans. So I think that's how I foresee the future.
One of the things I thought of was that as a journalist, I wanted quotes. I wanted real people to back up a story. So yeah, I got my facts, and I can see in a newsroom that I'm sitting there as a journalist, and I'm going, okay, well, I need to research, I don't know, quantum physics. And I could put into Chat GPT and I could say, okay, write me an article on the latest developments in quantum physics. But that doesn't give me necessarily those sort of unique quotes, because the journalist, I don't want to just use a quote that's been used in every other newspaper. I want something that is, I can say, we got. It adds to a story, it gives it depth and all that. So it feels to me that there is that higher quality, that real, authentic human edge that is the only way you're going to be able to stand out above this.
Yeah, I think so.
Another thought I had was about press releases. When you're trying to do PR well, you want to obviously look at a journalist, you want to see what stories they write, the angle they go down. I put into the Chat GPT, stupid thing, and I put in there about, I can't remember what the question was, but I said in the style of Shakespeare. And it started trying to write this stuff like poetry. And then it struck me as I did this, and I thought, well, what if you said, write me a press release in the style of this journalist? Because if you could do that, surely you could write a press release that is going to appeal to the things that they write about, because the way someone writes reflects their personality. It reflects what they're interested in. So you could, in theory, write something specifically for journalists with AI that would appeal to them and touch the touch points for them, couldn't you?
Yeah, 100%. That's definitely possible. But can it write based on a very specific journalist? I doubt it, because you need a lot of content in order to mimic that. Unless you have written thousands and thousands of articles that has been analyzed by the tool, it will not know your tone of voice, your style.
Gotcha.
There are a lot of caveats here of how to deal with this technology.
What do you think is next, Mark? I mean, you're one of these people that I'm always amazed with how you can spot the future trends. I mean, you're better than AI. Who needs AI when you got Mark? But all PR are talking about ChatGPT at the moment and AI. What do you think is the next thing that the PR community should be watching out for? What's your feeling of the next tools that could be out there, or even where AI is going? You're so good at this. You've got to look into your crystal ball for us and tell us what you see, Mark. Come on.
That's a very, very, very good question. Look, it's very difficult. Actually, it's very difficult to foresee this, because every year I do a trend prediction. And last year, my trend prediction, I said there will be a Cambrian explosion of AI. Well, that sort of came true. However, I have to be honest to admit that I didn't foresee it to be happening in this very specific space of generative AI. And literally, the internet and the world exploded with generative AI tools just in the last 3 months of 2022. And nobody foresaw that coming, like literally nobody. And so how is this space going to evolve? I don't know. Will it evolve? For sure. Will we see more advanced AI? 100%. Will we see numerous new, really exciting use cases? Definitely. We already see how people are exploring ChatGPT to create all kinds of really cool use cases and open sourcing them to everyone. So we get this explosion of ideas and use cases, and which is, I think, super exciting. But which specific use cases will be out there, I don't know. It's for sure that this space will evolve. I think we last year we saw Lambda by Google, which they never released in public. We have GPT-4 coming up. It will have a big impact on society. And I think a lot of people are very much sleepwalking into this AI-driven society where they have zero clue of what's actually happening. Everyone is talking about ChatGPT and how cool it is, but do we really understand what the implications are of this kind of technologies? I don't think we do. And I think that's very worrisome. And we really have to think very, very carefully about that. Everyone uses it for creating cool examples, but what does this actually mean? You see these posts, whether they're real or fake, I don't know, on Twitter and LinkedIn, where people say, yeah, I've been fired as a content writer, I've been fired as a creator, as an illustrator, I've been fired as a video maker because of Stable Diffusion, because of Midjourney, because of ChatGPT. To what extent that's true, I don't know, but it sort of shows what's happening, because when Microsoft bought a stake in OpenAI, they fired 70 of their journalists from MSN and replaced them with GPT, so GPT-3. And that was a couple of years ago. So organizations will use this technology. And I think there is a space for PR agencies who are purely digital AI driven to help organizations at a very low cost with very low quality, but large volume of content. Whether that's good or bad, I think it's not very good. But if it might help you as an organization, maybe it works for you until Google decides that kind of content is not relevant. But then again, how relevant is Google if we have a chatbot that we can ask really, really interesting questions? But that in itself will change the work for PR agencies and advertising agencies significantly, because at the moment, up until now, it's always been as an objective as a PR agency or a media agency to get a brand in at least the top 10 on Google. And top 10 in the world of AI, voice AI, is no longer sufficient. You have to be the number one. You have to be the number one that this tool is going to recommend. And that whole process is going to be a lot more opaque. So it will be a lot more difficult to know what you need to do to be recommended by ChatGPT to your specific audience. So there's some interesting times ahead of us.
It's fascinating. I've got one more question for you, Mark. With all this chat GPT and all this amazing AI, why is it when I turn to my Google Home and I ask it to set an alarm for a particular time, it often gets it wrong? I don't understand. I thought it was better than this. Or it plays the wrong tune or something. It's like you go, oh, I want to listen to some Taylor Swift or something, and it will go, you want to listen to Metallica? No, I don't. I don't at all.
Because it's not the most advanced technology. That's why.
Listen, Mark, it's always an absolute pleasure talking to you. Thank you so much.
Likewise.
So that is Mark van Ramerson. You can find him on his website at thedigitalspeaker.com, thedigitalspeaker.com. In a moment, a few steps that you can try to become a bit more familiar with AI and the way it might impact PR. But first, I want to start doing a new little tiny feature within these shows called Question of the Week. These are some of the topics that people keep asking me, that keep coming up from different people all the time, from listeners. And one thing we know about PR is there is no one way of doing things. So I would love to know what your thoughts are on this question. If you had to give one tip to another PR about how to pitch a story to a journalist that you've already written for them, what would it be? As I say, every type of PR is different, so your answer is likely to be different to other people. But what do you think of the answer to that? Let me know by messaging me, direct message me, you can on LinkedIn. All the details for that are on the website, thepublicrelationspodcast.com, or you can find me under the name Richard Midson, which is Midson. I'm going to do more of those over the coming weeks too. So, AI, can it be used for free? Yes, it absolutely can be. So what I suggest you do if you want to try and get a bit more familiar with this, and you can do this so quickly in just a few minutes today, as soon as you get to your desk, or if you're at home now, maybe you just want to log into your laptop. My advice is to search for the phrase Chat GPT. So that's Golf Papa Tango, GPT, and try it out. You just have to register on there. It's completely free, and you can do this whether you're an agency, you're doing this yourself in a small team, whatever it is. So go onto Google, search for Chat GPT, and you will find a site from an organization called OpenAI. So you want to create a login on there. And then once you're on there, you'll see a box for entering your question. And the thing I would suggest here is that unlike the way you put into a search engine, try not to limit your thinking this time. So actually imagine that you're talking to a human being and you're their boss and you're telling them to do some work. You want them to research something, or you want them to write something or something like that. And enter that command in there and write it in English. Enter that command in it and see what it comes up with. As I think I've talked about before, some things it won't do, and it won't do for sensitivity grounds and stuff like that. So just try a few different things. Then here's another thing I really recommend you have a try. And although it's not perfect, this is just to illustrate the point. Ask it to write a press release on your specific topic and see what it does. It's quite fascinating. And then finally, just ask it if it has a list of experts in your field and see what comes up. Be aware this is not perfect. In the article on the Public Relations website, I go through a few of the sort of shortcomings that you should be watching out for. But just get a sense of how this is just the start and how things can improve. And I'm sure you will start to see the opportunities and also the challenges being presented by this. Now, I can see this developing more and more, and I'm going to keep in touch with this because I think it is going to have a big impact on PR, along with lots of other different things that we've got to think about in PR as it keeps changing. So I'm going to be adding just little tips in upcoming shows on this as I find out more details, and I will keep that article on the website up to date as well. Have you tried AI, by the way? Are you using it? There's a lot of things that claim to be AI, but are you using something which really analyzes data rather than just produces a data set that we would have seen in the past and calls it AI? I would love to hear how you've used it. It's a fascinating topic, and one of the things I love about this show is the fact that we can keep up to date with things. If you want to follow me during the week and also connect with me, you can reach out to me on LinkedIn. Search for Richard Midson, Midson. I'm also starting to post little bits as well every so often on Instagram and Twitter, sometimes during the week. So you can search for me under the Public Relations Podcast or That PR Chap. I'm trying to change them all from That PR Chap to the Public Relations Podcast, but they're not all done yet. If not, just go on LinkedIn. You'll find me there. That is ample enough for this week. I'll probably have some bite-sized during the week. In the meantime, have an absolutely awesome time and look forward to speaking to you soon.